Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome again to our California-Nevada chat here on February 11th. My name is Len Dumas, Executive Director of the Northern California PGA, and on behalf of our colleagues, Tom Addis, Executive Director and CEO of the Southern California PGA, and Nikki Gatch, Assistant Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer, and Jeff Johnson, Chief Financial Officer. Our section leadership, Northern California President Eric Lippert, and Southern California President Robin Shelton, and our production team, Bryce Seaver and Shelby Zell. We thank you for the continued support of our program. We have a tremendous program today with Lpga Commissioner Molly Marcoux-Samaan, Senior Director and Project Manager of the Home of the PGA of America, John Newkirk, and the Southern California Golf Association Director of Public Affairs, Craig Kessler. So I don't think President Lippert has been able to make it so far. So let's begin our session with opening remarks, and I'll turn it over to Southern California PGA Executive Director, Chief Executive Officer, Tom Addis. Tom?
Yeah, thanks, Len, and good morning, everyone. It's nice to be with you. It's we've missed you, actually. It seems like it's been a really long time since we've been together, and this once a month presents that kind of challenge. So we do miss you. We're looking forward to March. We'll have our March session on either the 4th or the 11th right now. But today's chat will be an outstanding chat with Molly and John and Craig, and the newsworthy items, not only the Super Bowl, but the newsworthy items in California this week and ongoing. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the president of the Southern California PGA, Mr. Robin Shelton from Newport Beach Country Club.
Well, Tom, thank you for the kind words, the kind introductions. As mentioned, these chats are so cool, right? It's a great way to be educated, but also just be informed on what's going on. And I think what's really cool today is talk about two dynamic people with two dynamic things going on. I mean, Molly is just kind of taking the Lpga by the horns and starting and doing and building on so many cool things and changing the game there, and then to be talking about, the construction that's going on at our future office is pretty cool. So I hope you all enjoy these two speakers. Hope you all enjoy what they get to share and just walk away from this time better and more educated. So Tom, thank you, and hope you all enjoy today.
Robin, thank you, and thanks for the greeting. And we look forward to today. And let's have a good time. Len?
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Robin. Great to have everybody together. And just a couple of updates. Yesterday, Nevada Governor Sisolak announced that the state was dropping its statewide mask mandate effective immediately, though businesses are, of course, able to create their own policies. And here in California, citing a 65% drop in COVID-19 cases since the peak of the Omicron surge, come next Tuesday, February 15th, California's statewide indoor mask requirement will expire as well. Unvaccinated people must still wear masks in indoor public settings. And of course, businesses are able to create their own policies and structure. So we take this positively, yet as we have said since we began the chats back in 2020, we encourage everyone to continue to take safe measures as we have a full schedule ahead of us for our programs and activities, which we're very grateful for as we continue to look out for each other and continue to thrive as an industry. So with that, I'd like to bring on our first guest and a little bit of a bio first. Actually, this bio is going to take a few minutes. So Commissioner Samaan is a passionate multi-youth sports athlete from the moment she was introduced to sports as a young girl. And after watching the Lpga and seeing her older brother play golf, Molly convinced her parents at age 11 to allow her spend summer days playing at Newman Golf Course, a public course in Ithaca, New York. And at 14, she was runner-up in the Women's City Championship and a 5-time club championship at the North Fork Country Club in Cutchogue, New York. Molly graduated cum laude from Princeton University in 1991. A history major, she wrote her senior thesis on The Social Construction of Sport and Gender, A History of Women's Golf from 1895 to 1955. She was a two-sport varsity athlete, earning 4 letters each in soccer and ice hockey. And as a senior, Molly was awarded the C. Otto von Kindbusch Sportswoman of the Year Award, honoring the university's top female athlete, who also displays high scholastic rank and sportsmanship. She began her 19-year career with Chelsea Piers Management, the company that owns and operates 2 world-class amateur sports complexes, Chelsea Piers, New York, and Chelsea Piers, Connecticut, when its first facility opened in 1995. She also founded and served as executive director of the Chelsea Piers Scholarship Fund, which offers scholarships to provide athletic opportunities to children in need. In 2014, Molly was recruited back to Princeton as the university's Ford Family Director of Athletics. And during her tenure, Princeton teams won a league-leading 65 Ivy League championships and finished as high as 30th in the prestigious Learfield IMG Cup standing, which measures overall athletic success of all Division I athletic programs. And Molly also initiated the Princeton Tiger Performance, which focuses on the optimal performance of the university's nearly 1,000 varsity athletes each year. Her husband, Andrew, and parents of 3 children, Maddie, Katie, and Drew. So ladies and gentlemen, we're proud to and grateful, Molly, to welcome the 9th commissioner of the Lpga, Molly Marcoux Samaan. Molly, thank you for being with us this morning.
All right. Well, thanks, Len. That was you stole a little of my thunder there. That was pretty awesome. You guys had said you maybe give a little bit of your background. I obviously don't need to do that, but thanks for that intro, and thanks for having me come here. It's been amazing to get out into the golf world and meet so many passionate people in the industry who are really just changing lives through what you all do. I think you mentioned it a little bit. When I was a young girl, I just woke up every day thinking about how to play sports, and that was my main source of joy, my biggest talent probably in life, more than academics for sure, but it was where I kind of got all of my joy, and have seen at every level of my life the power of sports, for me personally, but also for the community. I always say, sports builds leaders and builds communities, and that's why I've been so blessed and so fortunate to have had this opportunity. You mentioned that I played golf as a young kid, and it was a bit different in that my parents didn't play golf. I didn't belong to a country club. I grew up in an upstate New York town where there was probably 10 weeks of good golf weather, but got the bug when my brother started playing, and just convinced my parents to buy me some clubs at a garage sale. I think they're the old Patty Bergs, and literally spent my summers at this wonderful little public golf course in upstate New York, where it was $45 for the whole summer to play as much as you wanted to. And so my dad would drop me off on his way to work and pick me up on his way home, and we just with the boys at the course, we just lived a great life. And I played kind of competitively when I first started playing, which was around 12 or 13 years old, but I also played soccer and I played ice hockey. And I remember very clearly thinking to myself, like, I love this game so much, but I also really love soccer and hockey, and my parents can't keep taking me around to all these things, and I needed to focus a little bit. And I just thought, I'll come back to this game. I've got enough of it. I was maybe 15 years old or 16, but I just said, like, maybe I'll focus a little more on soccer and hockey. I never thought that I'd be coming back to the game in this way. And so it's been a gigantic blessing. I've worked in sports basically my whole career. When I graduated from college, my roommates, most of them were athletes. We sort of stood around and said, well, we didn't have email, and we certainly weren't writing it, texting each other back and forth. But, we wrote this little piece of paper out where we filled in some questionnaire about where do you want to be, and where do you think you'll be in 5 years? What do you think you'll be doing in 10 years? And, I was not very creative. And I just said, and my roommates, we still have this document. And I just said, I hope I have a cool job in sports in 5 years. I hope I have a cool job in 10 years in sports, and so on. And I think I've been really fortunate to have really cool jobs in sports for my whole career. I worked originally right out of college. I worked at a high school, at a boarding school, I was still trying to play a little hockey, and I was coaching and working in admissions and living in a boys' dorm, which was quite interesting as a 21-year-old woman living in a 16 and 17-year-old boys' dorm, but loved the coaching part. And then, went from there. So worked in high school athletics and that environment, and then went to work for Chelsea Piers for almost 20 years, and saw the business side of sports and the amateur side of sports and the youth side of sports pretty in depth. And we built these two big businesses. And then going back to Princeton, seeing college athletics, which is a whole different realm. And then this job, this LPGA job is kind of a culmination of all of those things. And I feel wildly fortunate to be in this position. One of the reasons why I really took the job and wanted to move my family from this, glorious kind of spot that we had to Princeton was because of the power I felt of golf and of the connection points of everything the LPGA does. The tour is obviously at the top of the kind of triangle, if you think about it, because we get the most exposure there, and we spend 90% of our time or 80% of our time working on the tour. But really, it's the base of the pyramid that has this tremendous impact, and that's through our LPGA professionals, through our girls USGA LPGA girls golf program, through our amateur program, and that's where the magic really happens. So it all works symbiotically together. And that's what I found, that's really why I was so excited about this opportunity. And then the first 6 months I started, I think I was announced at the beginning of June or the end of May, and I needed to wrap up my time at Princeton. So I spent, a couple months making sure that they were in good shape, which they hired a great AD and all is well there. But transitioning kind of into this new role at the beginning of August. And my biggest thing was I got to have so much to learn about the golf world, about the LPGA specifically. So I've spent the last 6 months really listening and learning. And what I always try to do, and it's hard in this world, is taking something that's pretty complex and making it as simple as possible, and setting a path and a direction. I think my biggest takeaways has been how people love this game and love the impact that they have across all parts of the industry. And that it's a really unique industry that's pretty connected, which is fun. The people who are leading the golf organizations, Seth Waugh and Jay Monahan and Mike Wan, obviously, and all of the European golf world and the RNA and Martin and Keith and all of those working at that level have been really super supportive of the LPGA and of me, and that's been really fun. And I'm super grateful for that connection point. But I think from my, specifically, these guys asked me to talk a little bit about where I think the LPGA is going. I think you've probably all seen a lot of really exciting news that's been coming out of the LPGA recently. It feels like there's this great momentum around interest in golf, which you all know, and interest in women's golf, particularly. We were, the USGA announced a $10 million purse for the US Open, which is pretty remarkable. We announced a total of $90 million, $90.2 million in purses in 2022, which is up 35% from 2019. Again, a pretty remarkable number, with CME coming in at our championship at the end of the year saying they're going to go from 5 to 7 million, and the 60th player. So if you make the field, and that's obviously through your success during the year, you're going to make a minimum of $40,000, which is very, very meaningful to our players. And first prize is going to be $2 million. So those are, and there's many more. We just announced an Epson entitlement for our qualifying tour, which is also a huge thing for us. And I could probably spend the next 20 minutes talking about some of the big moments of success, which is really exciting. I keep saying there's a bit of a tsunami coming around the interest in women's sports and women's golf. And, our job is to try to figure out how to kind of capitalize that and largely integrate it into the whole organization, which is really exciting and fun. Some of the specific things that we've worked on a strategic plan, which obviously starts with our values and our culture at the organization, and sort of leads into what are your strategic pillars. So we've worked hard and long at our value proposition. We feel like we have a real opportunity to change lives and to have a really positive impact on the world through what we do. And we're still just sort of defining specifically that mission statement, but really all around the impact that we can have in various communities in the world. So we've decided upon 6 really strategic goals or pillars. And I'll just walk you through them really briefly. We could spend hours kind of talking about each one because there are layers within each of them. But I think, as I said before, we really believe that we need to be the very best professional sports organization, not just women's sports professional organization, but we need to really be the place where the best women in the world aspire to play, and really the best partners want to align with what we do. So we think that just drives exposure and drives a lot of things that we do on the rest of the pyramid. And then we're really focused on people. We have this concept of performance excellence, and that means developing the culture and the policies and the environment to support our players, but also really our LPGA professionals and our staff to be able to reach their peak performance. So anything that we decide to prioritize is like, well, how does that affect people? How does that affect the people within our organization and allowing them to achieve their goals, which is really fun. For the players, that might mean, well, looking really specifically at, their health insurance, or looking specifically at kind of, do they make money if they make the cut? Do they have the right physios on site? Are we helping with the geographic flow of the tournaments so they don't spend as much on, things like that. That's just an example of the players. And for the professionals, are we out there, helping them gain new customers and having a platform, using it through our broadcast and integrating it into the broadcast. So lots of different ways that we're focused on that. And then a big part of it is, how do we differentiate and strengthen the LPGA brand? I think the brand is solid. I think we aren't known by as many people outside the golf world, and the great impact that we're having and the great talent of our athletes, outside of the golf world. And so how do we kind of make the LPGA a little bit more of a household name? And so we do that through marketing and media and fan engagement, technology, data, really drilling in on that aspect of our business, because we think that just builds more partners, builds more fans, builds more golfers. And we think that all of that inspires the next generation of both female golfers, but also male golfers. And then, interestingly, I think that really focusing intentionally on integrating all parts of our organization. Last week at our stream down in Fort Myers, we decided to stream the event as opposed to having it on Golf Channel, just because we were paying for the whole event and we wanted to try new things. And but we had an LPGA professional come on to the stream and analyze our athletes' swings, and then we could promote the LPGA professionals through that broadcast. And she was excellent, and people were commenting on how amazing she was. And so that integration part was really important to us. Similarly, we had a group of girls golf members there, and they got to stand right on the 18th green and get autographs and sort of be right in the action. So just again, some ideas on that fourth pillar of integration. And then fifth, how do we change the face of the game? How do we use our platform to give this amazing game to more kids who might not otherwise be able to afford it, who might not feel welcome within the game? And so really focusing a lot of our energy across all parts of our organization on changing the face of the game. And the industry is calling it Make Golf Your Thing, and how we integrate into that. And then the last thing from more of like a business perspective is, how do we build a strong organizational foundation through additional revenue sources, creative sort of ways of using our assets to build a stronger financial base, so we're more thriving rather than kind of surviving on a day-to-day basis. And so what's that long-term sustainability strategy around growth and revenue generation? So that's kind of where we are right now. And we're now digging into the details of all of that and setting short-term and long-term goals within those 6 key goals. And it's really exciting. I mean, I really do feel like there is this, as I said, tsunami of interest coming our way. I think many people are aligning with us. Our value proposition is pretty significant, both on a hospitality and on a broadcast basis and a fan engagement, but also as a platform to talk about their own institutional organizational values, talk about ways that they can use our platform and our sort of brand to elevate the work that they're doing within their own corporation. So there's great sponsorship interest right now in what we're doing. And that's kind of where we are. I think maybe there might be some questions, Len, that you guys were going to ask, but I'll stop talking there. That's longer than I usually talk. But that's kind of where the LPGA is. We feel pretty bullish on where we're going, and really, appreciate all the work that you guys do. We're coming to Southern California. We've got a bunch of events this year. I think we have 4 or 5 pretty remarkable events to bring the LPGA into your world. And I hope you can all get out and watch and cheer us on and be a part of it and integrate with us on what we do. Because it's pretty exciting to be out there. I'm actually coming out to Pebble next week, and I'm going to play Pebble Beach for the first time, which is again a dream. And I know you guys are leading the way in so many different areas of the golf world.
Yeah, Molly, thank you for that. And congratulations on all of that. Particularly, we'll talk about the game. One thing that COVID did was bring us together, bring all the factions together when we worked on the Back to Golf guidelines with all of the tours and the industry partners, the superintendents and so on, brought us together about that base of that pyramid that you talked about in your opening remarks. And now we're staying together and growing together. So it's something to be very, very proud of. So congratulations. We are going to miss you this year with Lake Merced undergoing the renovation. So that moved the Mediheal down to Southern California as well. But we'll see you again next year, and maybe even next week at Pebble Beach. So Molly, one of the things in terms of the that we've talked about, and we've heard Seth talk about it many times, and as we do it as an industry, having the game look like the country, and you address that as well. So a couple of things, the diversity, as you mentioned, changing the face of the game. We have so many, the LPGA Tour has so many exciting players right now that really become part of the community, and fans feel we can really, get to know them. And we do know some of them, given local college players, those that have grown up locally, and so on and so forth. So Maya, would you talk about that a little bit, the diversity and inclusion aspect of changing the face of the game, and a little bit on, as we see it throughout, the skill level is the skill level is just pretty crazy these days. Almost talking with Conrad Ray yesterday, the coach of the men's Stanford team, and he said, Len, the line between that college player and the tour player is probably the thinnest it's ever been.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I mean, again, played golf my whole life, and am a huge, I always thought I'd love to be a teaching professional myself, just because I'm fascinated by the golf swing and by, how hard the game is. It's just different than any other game, both in your mind and in your body. And so watching, having a front row seat to these women, I think that was the other thing that I saw when I got into this job, being inside the ropes and seeing the talent of our athletes. I mean, these are athletes, these are golfers, these are athletes, these are inspiring women, but the way they hit the ball is just different. I'm obsessed by getting my game back to a place that's relatively respectable, and it's been really fun to be inspired by them. But yeah, in terms of the idea and this concept of changing the face of the game, I think there's been so many things that have happened over the pandemic, but also a longer period of time that has, reinvigorated people around the game, whether it's just Top Golf or other kind of more, hey, just jump in and try this. I think we're all really committed to it, and the industry has come together, as you said. I mean, we meet relatively regularly. There are these committees that are out there, and my whole thing with it is like, it's not really just an option at this point. I feel like it's a responsibility for us to say this. Sports have become very not as democratized as you might hope they would be. I think, having been in the youth sports world and the college sports world, it's really hard to be good at sports these days if your parents don't have a lot of money, or you don't have someone giving you that opportunity. It's just on every sport. It used to be that there were some sports that were more expensive. Now every sport is really expensive. So I feel like it's our responsibility in the industry to come together and combat that, and let people know that there's resources out there. There's different ways to play. We're going to support it through the industry at the highest level, and we're going to kind of really dig in on it, and not just say we're going to do it, but actually take some real action steps and start to talk to a different audience. I mean, we've got a lot of ideas percolating and brewing around specific ways that we can just shake up the industry in that way. But I think specifically there's great work being done in different pockets of the world, and particularly the country. And how do we support those groups financially and give money into the hands of the people who are doing the work every day? From our perspective, we've got a big initiative within the LPGA to both, build our internal culture so we can hire more people from, different backgrounds, get more people people of color into our organization, show the world and give aspirational opportunities for those who might not play professionally, but might want to work in golf. Because I do think that's an issue and a challenge that we all face. So it goes back to the culture internally to create more of a diverse workforce within our organization. But then how do we grow, sort of the sort of that world outside of our doors, and think about how we give the game to young girls from diverse backgrounds and from under-resourced backgrounds. I think most importantly, how do you do that really creatively? Through resources we have, but also programs that we directly put together. How do we then communicate it out, but not just to the same base? I think sometimes we have a tendency to talk to those who've already made golf their thing. How do we go and tell people that this game is accessible and available, and here's how you kind of get into the game in different channels, and not just the same channels that we've always spoken to? And how do we constantly talk about it on groups like this, on our own staff meetings with our own, groups of constituents? How do we say, let's just have it be front and center. Let's not make it be a thing we said and then take no action. I'd love to have a golf tournament in the middle of an urban area and bring in a whole different fan base to that urban area, or to that local public golf course, and really show a different sort of side of what we do, and be uniters in everything that we do. So we've got a strategy. We've hired some people to help us with it. Our team's really connected on it, but we're making it a priority because we think that it's our responsibility to do so.
Hey, Molly, this is Tom. A question about the new appointment of Stacy Lewis as your captain for the Solheim Cup. And I think we all agree her demeanor is perfect for captaining the Solheim. What went into that selection, and where does that lead, and how excited can we be?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's an amazing selection. There's a committee, I sit on that committee, and I had the great pleasure of being able to tell Stacy that she was the committee's pick. But she's a coach. It's really interesting because she's one of the most competitive, dynamic players that we've seen, for a long, in the recent history. She wins a lot. She's super serious, super competitive, but her husband's a golf coach. And she sees her role, from the first time I talked to her, she sees her role as a coach and as someone who's going to get the most out of her athletes. And she's so excited about it. First of all, she's extremely patriotic. She loves this country. She loves this Lpga tour. She's actually on our board also. So, and she has a little beautiful young girl. And so I'm not sure how she's going to manage it all. And she was 11 under, I think, last week in our tournament, in the top 5, I think she finished. So she's kind of doing it all, but she does it with this like amazing passion. And the first time that I talked to her, I told her she was going to be the captain, all we start talking about is, coaching and how you get the most out of your athletes, and what environment you create, as I was talking about before, to allow them to reach peak performance. And as the athletic director at Princeton, that's kind of what my whole job was to give our coaches the opportunity to shine, because they knew what they were doing, is just giving them the resources and the environment to do so. So that's what we hope to do with Stacy. Obviously, Suzanne Pedersen on the other side is, I wouldn't want to put the two of them, or I would want to put the two of them in a room. They're both great players, great pressure players, great competitors, and they've battled each other. So it's going to be really exciting. And Stacy was here all this week doing all the media, and she's in it. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, thank you. They are both she and Suzanne, as far as competitiveness and boy, a straightforward look on it. That's for sure. I have one more question, Len, if you don't mind. And you mentioned the word tsunami and of support, and where is that coming from? How do you develop that? Where do you look for that tsunami to grow?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think some of it is coming our way because people are a little bit of, they're focused in their own organizations. Like we're talking corporate sponsorships right now, or corporate partnerships. And they're saying like, we talk a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we want to really change the world, or our organization at a minimum, and we're not really sure how to do that. We're not really sure what platform we can use and what steps we can take. And one of the things is they're seeing is that they can use you can use the actual Lpga to talk to both your employees, talk to your customers about what you value, kind of improving the pay equity situation between the Lpga and the PGA Tour, giving women more of an opportunity to live their dreams through this game, but also using the platform like KPMG has done to create a women's leadership summit, which is quite a remarkable summit around the tournament, and integrating their values and saying to their employees, we're not just saying we're trying to have more women leaders, we're actually growing women leaders, and we're going to use golf as a mechanism and a means to do that. So I think there's a lot of that happening. I think the other thing is people are seeing, God, these women are remarkable. They're such talented athletes, and there's a lot of interest. If we could just get more media around it, it's kind of a chicken and egg. I think 7% of sports sponsorships go to women's sports right now. So there's a lot between 7% and 93%, and if we can grab a little bit back of that market share there, that'll elevate the game in such significant ways. So kind of saying that a lot and asking people to jump in and help us, not just because they want to help us, but because we think it's a really good business decision. People will talk with the Epson announcement a couple of weeks ago. They have Shaquille O'Neal as one of their ambassadors, and they get tremendous, you've all seen the commercials, they get tremendous value out of that. But they said that the reach that they had through this announcement was amazing. Just people were so interested and so grateful for the way that they're supporting our athletes and looking at the pay equity, looking at women's empowerment. So I think it's all coming from people going, wow, this is an asset that's been undervalued, and it really helps us speak to our own corporate values and our own platform. So, if we can get 4% or something like that of media coverage goes towards women's athletics, if we can get, that's big, between 4 and 96%, there's a lot of movement there. So I think we think that that's all coming, and it's really people just reaching in and saying, all right, this is something we should be doing, but it's also really good business for us.
Well, that's interesting and great, and appreciate that response, and appreciate you being here. Thank you, Len.
Yeah, awesome. My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Molly, one more, a couple other things, and then we'll let you go. Again, you've been so generous with your time, but you talked about it and tying together the two of the pillars you mentioned in the strategic plan, people performance excellence and differentiating the Lpga brand and outside of golf. And you mentioned something which I think is near and dear to all of us. We're kind of humble organizations. We've been taught to keep it close to the vest, and it's time to change that. And the point is, sometimes we've been talking to ourselves all these years, and now it's, let's get it out there. Let's get the word out. We have so many social media channels. We have so much more network participation, and on and on. I mean, that is probably, those two pillars are probably lifelong projects. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I've told this story before, but I followed the Lpga my whole life. I obviously wrote my thesis on the development of, the history of women's golf. I played, when I first got to meet, like a Nancy Lopez and a Julie Inkster and a Meg Mallon and Beth Daniel. And, those were big moments for me, because I, as a young girl, probably unusually really followed, they were the only sports heroes. The tennis players and the golfers were really the only people that I saw that, could inspire me in that way. And I watched all men's sports too, but the women, it was something slightly different. But when I, was deciding about taking this job, I said to my kids, I have 3 kids at that time, 17, 15, and 11. And I said to them, name me 5 women's golfers. And they're athletes. They don't necessarily, my son plays golf and my girls know how to play, but they play other sports right now. They'll come back to it for sure. But tell me, name me 5 Lpga players right now. And they really could just name Michelle Wie. That's who they came up with. And, I was like, that has to change, because these are unbelievable athletes, unbelievable role models, doing all the things well, and global and diverse. And so I think that's part of what our challenge is not just speaking to as I said before, the same audience that loves golf and values us, but how do we have a bigger platform and bigger impact? So you can do it with technology. This betting thing will be really interesting for us. Better data about our statistics statistics and how talented our players are, more marketing, fan engagement, kind of creating a little fun buzz around the game. So those are all things we're super connected to. And we also want to, we're a player organization, we're a member organization, both the professionals and the LPGA players, tour players. So how do we continue to focus in on that kind of environment and letting people reach their own peak? And that for both organizations and our staff is really critical. And when you have that intentionality, you tend to be able to make some good changes around that. So one example, again, another example would be like, could we get an airline to be one of our sponsors and make it a little easier on our professionals and our players as they travel around the world with change fees or, cheaper flights or whatever it is, because it's so expensive to do this. So that's just another one of those examples. If you're intentional with it, then you prioritize who you're going after to help support the tour.
Well, Molly, thank you. Thank you. That was just great. Again, we really appreciate you taking your time to join us. We'll stay in touch if you don't mind.
Yeah.
As we develop our activities. And congratulations on the position as the 9th commissioner. There's such great road ahead, and obviously you wrapped around it just tremendously. Have some fun at Pebble Beach next week. Hard to believe it's your first time there, but it is a great experience there. And we look forward to the 4 events in Southern California. And Molly, thank you. Thank you for being here.
I guess I should bring a bunch of balls, huh? Because I'll probably lose a number of them. So I played out in Vegas, and yeah, there's some tough golf courses out in your world, and I'm going to bring dozens of balls because I'm sure I'm going to lose them. But I can't wait, and really appreciate all you guys are doing, and hopefully we'll see you out at some of our events this spring.
Yeah.
Thank you, Molly.
Great.
Yeah, thanks. Bye. Okay, that was great, Molly. Thank you again so much for being with us, and you're more than welcome to stay for our session if you can make it. And next up, John Newkirk, a PGA member, and John is currently serving as a senior director, project manager, the home of the PGA in Frisco, evidenced by the hard hat. John is a PGA quarter-century member, has been with the PGA of America for 24 years. Former executive director of the Southern Ohio section, and has served in the Navy air traffic controller on the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, and started working in the golf industry at age 14 at the Reed Park Golf Course in Springfield, Ohio. And John is married with 3 kids, Austin, Isabella, and Xavier. So John, first up, thank you. I mean, what an undertaking to be headquarters at Frisco. So please tell us where it's come, where we're headed, and how exciting it is, because it is just going to be a game changer for us as an organization.
Thanks, Lynn. And Tom, Lynn, thank you so much for this invitation to join you all today. Really excited to share some of this. I know we have some photos and some video to go along with the talking points here. You mentioned an undertaking, but honestly, it's been an incredible privilege. I just feel so fortunate. I have this front row seat to see our home coming out of the ground, and to think about how it's going to be used in the future, this incredible place for associates to come and to learn, the learning environment we're creating inside the building. If many of you on this call, raise your hand if you ever landed in West Palm and you drove up 95 to Port St. Lucie and you went right past PGA Boulevard on your way and back to the airport. But now we're bringing those associates here, 90 students a week, 42 weeks out of the year, into this world-class education environment. The building is so much more than an office space. And from my comments just now, hopefully you get a sense of that. I'm going to try to describe the place as much as I can. I promise you, I'm probably going to fail miserably to really give you all the full scope of what's happening here. I just hope that for those following along, you make a trip out this way and you see it for yourself. I think it's going to be a place that we're incredibly proud of. It's going to be a place where we tell the amazing story of the association, but the incredible stories of our PGA members, and putting members first in that entire thing is so important. The building is beautiful. Our new home of the PGA, we're we're dropping the word headquarters from our vernacular. Really want to create this sense of home and welcomeness right when you walk in the door. We want our members and associates and our section colleagues to be seen and heard, and we want, when you get in the building, that's the type of thing that resonates with you when you're walking through the spaces. As far as how we're doing on construction, we are at full tilt right now. The building is literally changing the look and feel every 2 days. We've got about 19 days until the big construction projects wrap up, and then we're looking at moving PGA teammates in April 19th is what we're shooting for right now. So as you can imagine, there's a lot happening inside our new home. And as you see on the photos, a very beautiful building. But I've mentioned a couple times, what really makes this place special, again, is the people, and I use that holistically, right? It's our PGA members, it's our associates, and it's our team, and we all are behind the scenes driving this game, and this new home and the campus to tell our story. I think is going to be an incredible opportunity for the organization. The first level of the building is almost entirely dedicated to education. You're seeing some of that on the screen now with the education center. There are 11 hitting bays in that education center, 7 simulators, 4 indoor to outdoor, so they can actually stand in the building and hit shots out on the practice facility from inside our new home. You see that up in the top right corner. We've got the club performance room where they're going to learn everything you need to know about golf equipment in that room right there. And down below is another example of what's happening with education. We have this enormous space dedicated to short game. Really, I don't know if there's going to be anything like it in the world with the target greens, and we have a full-size bunker in there. It should be a really great space that our faculty will be able to use and educate associates. And then, as you move around the space, you're starting to see some of the imagery. We really were very intentional as we looked across the building, and whether it was with PGA members or associates or our team, we looked for opportunities to create these happy collisions, so that the grandstand play on a golf term is kind of in the center of the building. We imagine that while the students are here, this can be a space that they're sitting in between classes. We'll have staff in here. We think that those collisions between staff and associates and members is just so very important. And so we created, we looked at our spaces on how they could be used in that way. Up in that top right corner is the lounge in the building. This is a beautiful lounge. It just adjacent to it to the north is a partially covered patio that is in the Hall of Fame garden, an area that we're calling the Hall of Fame garden. And in that Hall of Fame garden, a focal point will be the Hall of Fame monument. And as you would imagine, it will be pretty spectacular. I mean, it's 7 feet tall, 34 feet wide, same stone and metal you see on the building. There's also a reflection pond in that Hall of Fame garden. We see that space being used day to day. Associates having their lunch out on that patio. But we also see during events or championships, it could be a VIP space. And what's great about that is if we use it in other ways, again, we're telling people our story, we're bringing them into our space and sharing our story with them. And I want to play a short video. If the team could bring that up, just got a short video that talks a little bit more about storytelling.
How do you make 28,000 PGA members feel like they belong to the new headquarters in Frisco, Texas? Well, it's not a headquarters, it's a home. Welcome home. As you enter, visitors are immediately greeted by 28,000 faces, the heart and soul of the PGA of America, its member professionals. The large-scale digital interface also allows members the chance to search the PGA database and learn more about their special interest, to see familiar faces and meet some new ones. Getting more personal, another welcome screen is programmed to greet individual visitors with their image and name, And to make sure the family knows who's come home, a message is transmitted upstairs to the PGA staff to let them know a member or visitor has arrived. A true welcome home wouldn't be complete without a friendly face. The welcome desk serves as the first of many connection points where a greeter or concierge greets the visitor with a personal touch, maybe offering them their favorite beverage. Members can swipe their badge as they enter to activate the personalized experience. As you move into the gallery, much like a home's library, you begin to share in the history of the PGA, its heroes, memories, treasured artifacts. It's almost like you're flipping through the family scrapbook. Digital interactive experiences allow visitors to scroll through to learn more about the PGA heroes, Hall of Fame members, past presidents, and the everyday professionals. Moving into the second part of the gallery, visitors can experience some of the greatest championship moments of the PGA and get up close and personal with some of the most prized memorabilia. The jewelry store type display case is a treasure chest of interactive surprises. It may have the famous Sunday shirt in one drawer. In another drawer, it could be the original minutes book from 1916. The iconic Rolex clock serves as a backdrop for this display and affords Rolex the chance to be part of the home of the PGA. Gear displays come to life with augmented reality options. As you hold your phone over the display, a video story comes to life. Imagine as you hover over championship badges that videos of the PGA professional plays an iconic moment in history. The trophy display is another opportunity for visitors to use AR with an app on their phones. As they hover over a championship trophy, they automatically see video highlights from that year's tournament. Moving through the connector hallway, members are reminded of the PGA's mission to serve the member and grow the game. Images bring to life the faces of those who make it possible. This is yet another opportunity to underscore the diversity of the organization and its commitment to bringing everyone into the game. Points of collision or connection are key to the experience. The PGA is all about relationships, and what better way to connect than over a game? This space provides the opportunity for staff, associates, and visitors to just hang out and share a story or two. PGA Reach is just one of the ways the PGA of America sets itself apart by growing the game through serving. This display creates a space to honor PGA Reach donors and tell the stories of those who benefit from their efforts. Rounding the corner to the Grandstand staircase creates a wow moment. It makes a statement. A bold message like, "I am golf," immediately identifies the individual's place in the PGA story, and it provides an incredible photo opportunity. The Grandstand is another point of connection where staff can possibly gather for a lunch and learn training session, or just overlook the course. The Education Center is a wide-open space where professionals and prospective members can explore the vast array of opportunities available to them. Visitors can explore the 3 career paths available via the large interactive screen. This experience allows members and prospective members to understand the depth and breadth of career opportunities available to them. Similar to the gallery wall, the Education Center invites the visitors go deeper inside the PGA story and learn some of the lesser-known advantages of becoming a professional. The visitor can learn more about their district and the professionals there and find ways to better connect. The attention-grabbing ticker is designed to offer real-time news and stats of interest, even results of training accomplishments going on in the Education Center. It can also be tailored to display welcome and inspirational messages or social media feeds. The wide-open educational space is ideal for an eye-catching, larger-than-life image that paints a picture of the rewarding moments that come with being a PGA professional. Climbing upstairs to the 4th floor, visitors are met with the true hero shot of the home of the PGA, the bird's eye view of the course in Frisco. Memorabilia is displayed front and center in a see-through lit case that allows the viewer to get a glimpse of the past with a view of the future. The interactive digital map that is easily updated provides viewers the chance to learn where current and former board members come from and helps build a sense of unity while showing our diversity of locations and backgrounds. The display of the clubs from the 25 founding PGA members pays homage to those who made the PGA possible. Finally, the digital stretch panels create a feeling of a grand art display. Images can be customized to the event or occasion. So if a potential sponsor like BMW is visiting the home of the PGA, artwork that includes a car on the 18th hole can be shown. Or if you are welcoming your new board members to their first meeting, individual photos could be projected. Welcome to the home of the PGA in Frisco, Texas. Welcome home.
Well, Len, I am really looking forward to taking you and Tom on in a game of Golden Tee. I think that's what I'm really excited about right out of the gate. But hopefully, you guys all get a sense of the project, the scope of the project, and what we're trying to achieve here. And I just think it's going to, in my opinion, as a PGA member myself, I'm just so proud of the vision of all of our leaders, right, current and past leaders, to bring us to this point. And I think it's going to be just an incredible space for us moving forward. So.
Yeah, John, thank you for all that. I would imagine as you move around and see it come together, that, as you just said, there has to be a sense of awe about this and just how amazing it is. John, would you talk a little bit about the other, obviously the golf courses are there, but there are other buildings going up, right? We have the Omni Hotel. We've got another high school that's going in on Frisco. We have the North Texas PGA section is making their home there. So a little bit, John, on the other, as I said, the other structures that are going up.
Yeah, thanks, Len. And I meant what I said. In my opinion, I don't think there's another facility like this in the world. And to your point, just to the south of us, to my left, we've got the North Texas PGA section office coming out of the ground. Their goal is to open by August of this year. In their structure, outside of their business offices, they also have a pavilion and a golf park, a 300-acre golf park. It's coming online. Behind me, I don't know if you can see, maybe the light's not great for this, but to the northeast over here, we've got coming out between us and the hotel and convention center often on the horizon there. You've got retail spaces, shops, restaurants. You've got a sports bar / ice house that sits between the practice facility immediately behind the home of the PGA and the short course, the 10-hole short course. There is a 70,000 square foot putting green we call the dance floor that has at the longest length, a 205-yard putt on that enormous putting green. That also gets a 40,000 square foot LED board. So you can imagine for like watch parties or maybe even a family movie night on a Saturday, that whole retail area and putting green and integrating entertainment with the game could be just an incredible opportunity to introduce the sport to some folks who maybe just came in for an ice cream cone, or maybe they're not really sure and they pick up a putter and they like it and then they go out on the short course, and before you know it, they're in North Texas PGA programming and Junior League and Family Cup and those types of things, and then they're out on our courses, the East and the West course, which are world class, and the East course will hold some of the the biggest events in the game, and I think it's going to be incredible. And then our partners Omni down there in the northeast corner with their 500-room hotel and convention center is going to be really special as well. So again, I'm doing my best to describe this, but you really have to come see it for yourself to understand the scope of the project and I think what it's going to mean for our organization moving forward.
John, I think it was Seth or that brought it up that, open everything at once, because it's that first impression, which is just going to be, as we said, overwhelming and just magnificent. So that would be next year. Right? I know the golf courses are ready, but 2023, right?
Yeah, thanks, Len. Home of the PGA, we open up in, as I mentioned, April is our goal, April of this year. North Texas PGA opening in August of this year. And then the rest of the campus, the golf courses, the practice facilities, the short course, all the restaurants and hotels and convention centers, all of that is spring of 23 at this point. just in time for the senior PGA in 2023.
So John, as you move around, what's your favorite spot as you look around and say, okay, this is where I'm going to park?
Lynn, I haven't had an office for like 6 years, and I don't plan to start having an office here. The building is going to be my office. I just can't wait to like sit on these outdoor terraces or sit on that grandstand or just be in the building with I think the unique energy that's created with our associates coming here and our team working out of it every day. I think it's going to be special.
John, thank you. I mean, thank you for heading that up and for bringing that to us today. It's just tremendous. And, we look forward to everybody. Right? We look forward to the entire PGA family and also our partners being out there to visit our home. So keep going, John, onward we go. And we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Stay in touch with you.
Yeah, Tom, Lynn, again, thanks for this opportunity and the invitation to join all of you today and spend a little time talking about the project that I'm so passionate about. But honestly, cannot wait to welcome everyone on this call and everyone around the country. We really cannot wait to welcome you home.
Thanks, John. We look forward to the middle of next month to being down there, and really appreciate your passion with the project and that goes a long way. So thanks for being here this morning, and we look forward to it.
Yes.
Take care, John. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. And as we've done, we've wrapped up pretty much every section with our next speaker, Director of Public Affairs for the Southern California Golf Association. And we were able to talk about recently the defeat of Assembly Bill 672, which had to do with the conversion of underutilized golf courses to low-income housing, or the possibility of additional housing here in California. That was defeated. However, it is back. It's back with a new name. It's back with a new look. We did have a call this morning about it, and I'll turn it over to Craig Kessler to bring us up to date on what is now Assembly Bill 1910. Craig, thanks again for everything over this past year and a half, and let's talk about 1910.
Thanks, Len. I'm going to talk about 1910 and only 1910. And I know many of you received a forward from Tom Addis a few hours ago. That was something that the Southern California Golf Association put out in the form of a public affairs alert late yesterday afternoon. Just before I do, I'm going to point out, just remind everyone that what is actually at stake in the details of what I'm going to talk about, because often it's easy, and it's particularly for those who are not involved in law and politics, to get lost in some of my discussions about bills and schedules and laws and precedents and all those kinds of things. But let's understand, what struck me was when the new commissioner of the Lpga, Molly, who talked about a lot of things that I found compelling, but she opened up her story about how she ended up ultimately as the commissioner of this major professional golf tour. Was because her father dropped her off every day during the summer in upstate New York, where for $45 for the entire summer, boy, did she get her money's worth, she played golf. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that story from so many persons, golf professionals, golf course superintendents, presidents of clubs, heads of green sections, people in the industry whose story began, who's in the golf industry or just lifelong golfers, began with that same story: access to affordable municipal golf. Many people continue to play that their whole life, it's because it's a sector that's gone infinitely up in terms of quality and playability. But so many of the stories start there, and that's what's at stake. That's at stake, that story over time. All of the growth programs that, the PGA of America, no one's done more in terms of growing the game with the junior league and all the programs. The tour has funded first tee chapters in this state, SCGA Junior, PGA, the two PGA sections with their massive tournament programs, Youth on Course, which is national, but it's centered out of Northern California. All of those, that's what's at stake in 1910. Len was correct. 672, and the last time I spoke to you, I think Assembly Bill 672, a 2-year bill, had made it through its 2 policy committees in the Assembly. The first one with flying colors, and the second one with some dissent from Democrats, and that's what's significant. And I prepared everyone to sort of understand that for political reasons and for reasons having to do with the rushed calendar of a 2-year bill process, you could probably expect it to make it to the floor of the assembly and get enough votes, maybe not enough votes, which is 41, to pass over to the Senate, where I outlined for you where I thought we had a lot of arrows, we had a lot of things in our arsenal to put up a good adversarial campaign. Well, the bill didn't make it that far. It died in appropriations on January 20th, and that meant effectively, actually was held in committee, that effectively killed 672 as 672. That night, the author, Assemblymember Christina Garcia of Bell Gardens, put out if you're a golfer, it was a fairly offensive tweet because she highlights golf balls in them. So it makes you think it's a little bit more about anti-golf animus than housing, but let's give her the benefit of the doubt and say it's not. Indicated that she would refile in the session. Well, Wednesday night at 9 p.m., that's exactly what she did. The bill is not identical to 672. And let me point out, 672 was started out in February of 2021. It was amended a couple of times during the living part of that session. It never made it to committee. That was sort of strike one against the bill. It was significantly amended from a mandatory bill to a permissive bill, and a bill that didn't sort of incur some of the other groups, non-golf groups that might oppose it for their own reasons, on the last day of the 2021 session. And then she amended it again January 3rd and tried to rush this thing out of the assembly into the Senate, where it might receive a more thorough policy vetting. In other words, give us an opportunity to point out why it was a horrible bill and a horrible piece of public policy. But it didn't even make it that far. So I explained to everyone, and we put out a lot of information that stated that while we could take her word for it, that she would refile, I think for political reasons, if nothing else, that her refiling would occur under two things that would benefit us greatly in the 2022 session. One of them would be the very fact that it ran into a roadblock and stalled at appropriations. That's an indicator that the support for the bill might not have been what the author thought it was. And then secondarily, the reintroduced bill, and it's now been reintroduced, that bill, no action can be taken. It can't be in a committee hearing. Nothing can happen for 30 days. That's California law. After that, the bill then goes to its first policy committee of reference, which is going to be housing and community services, community development. And then it's going to, a couple of weeks later, go to a second committee, local government, which is going to be more skeptical for a lot of reasons of the bill than the first committee. If it should make it through those two committees, it still has to go to appropriations and must get out of appropriations no later than May 20th, and then on to the floor before the end of the May. And should it make it that far, it then goes to the state Senate for much the same process. If it makes it out of there, it goes to the governor's office. In other words, what I'm getting at is what we were faced when the legislature came back into session on January 3rd was really a lot to do and no time to do it. And as much as I can say we should be congratulated for probably being a more worthy adversary than maybe the author of the bill thought, we're still in for what is a key fight. Because remember what I said is at stake here. Once it's actually 22.3% of the game's stock is read out of that parks community. That is the basis of all those stories we heard, like Molly and so many others, that's their start in the game. Without that start, there is no finish. Without that start, who knows if she goes on to be a competitive player in New York and on to Princeton and ultimately comes back after a long professional career to meld that with her passion, which is the game of golf, as the Lpga commissioner. And if we lose that, and in essence, a legislative finding that golf is not, basically, I'll put it in blunt terms, golf is not fit for the land it encumbers in urban areas and needs to be replaced, not by other recreational or open space activities, but by, in this case, overt residential development. Commercial development wouldn't be too far behind. And I guess the added kicker is that to put in there a set of grants to developers who's not knocking developers, that's how they make their living. They develop things. But to get a grant to develop something very, very specific is a very tempting target. And we would be the only target, not equestrian centers, not baseball diamonds, not soccer fields, not tennis court, not anything, not dog parks, nothing that's in the greater open space or recreational community except for golf courses. I'm not going to give away some of our secrets or some of our plans. Suffice it to say, I'm really, we did not know at the SCGA when we went for the first time on a mass basis to all of our members to suggest that they might want to let their legislators know that there are people in their districts who play golf and think this is a horrible bill. And they did it to a degree. It was a bit of a gamble. What if they didn't show up? Well, we know they showed up in the thousands, and that certainly, as much as insiders like me may be enamored of the brilliance of our legal and political and policy arguments, and those are important. Don't get me wrong, but those are never enough. It always takes real live support. And to those of you listening on this call, and to many of your colleagues who are not listening on this chat today, who alerted their clubs, talked to their memberships, and encouraged the same thing, my hat is off to you as well, including the superintendents and the general managers and everyone who works in the game. We're going to need to continue to do that as this much longer process unfolds if we expect to prevail again. And mind you, because Assemblymember Garcia has made clear that she'll be leaving the Assembly at the end of this year, she's making a run for the 42nd congressional seat in Southern California. Her opponent is also named Garcia, Mayor Robert Garcia of Long Beach. And I don't want to get involved in the political campaign, but the city of Long Beach has always been a very, very strong supporter of its excellent municipal golf system. So this is sort of her third time at bat with this bill. The first time it didn't make it to committee. The second time it didn't make it out of appropriations. Notice it's getting closer and closer to some measure of success. And this would be the third time. And I think we in California are, I think, dedicated to seeing it that it's 3 strikes and you're out. And I think if we can do that, that doesn't end this particular problem. I've said from the beginning, and I'll say it 1,000 times more, all of you are going to get sick of hearing me say this. Assembly Bill, 672, which is dead, or 1910, get used to that number, or the Public Golf Endangerment Act, or the Park and Open Space Endangerment Act, which is, I'm coming to prefer calling it that because that's what it really is. We're just the slippery slope of closing all kinds of open space in parks and ball fields and trail systems and so forth in favor of development, because after all, housing is the highest need in the state of California politically and in every other way. So why not? But if we are going to be able to do that, we're going to have to mass ourselves and recognize that it's a symptom of a problem. And the problem isn't going to go away, even if it's 3 strikes and you're out on this particular iteration of the problem. And it's that increasingly golf is in this case, they're trying to read us out of the open space, parks, recreational, public amenity system and suggest that a public golf course or a municipal golf course is not the same thing as a public park. That's very, very explicit here. If that finding is made and that becomes the general opinion, then that sector of the game that forms the story, whether it's Molly, Saman, or anybody else, or any of you who are on this call, that story will go away over time. And with that, our game shrinks. And I'm talking to an audience here that most of the audience of the SCGA are just people who play the game and love the game. They belong to clubs, whether those clubs are equity private country clubs or just traveling clubs that play a different municipal course every month in an organized competition. Those are the people who love the game and have a certain passion. But this audience works in the game. And I think that you have to recognize that if this goes through, California's days of roughly 1,100 golf courses is not going to maintain over time. That's going to shrink over time. And that bodes not only ill for those who love the game, because as the demand is going to remain very, very strong in California, we have great weather and a lot of outdoors people. But then the price goes up, and then the audience, the percentage of the population that can be attracted to the game diminishes just as a function of marketplace capitalism. And then the opportunities all of you have in the industry begin to shrink over time, and all that you've invested in. And I was impressed with that building, and I believe I too am going to see it next month. And I look forward to a tour of it, and that's a magnificent accomplishment. But I think all of us don't want to see all of these efforts and all the magnificent accomplishments like that be something we read about in a history book someday as the golden era of golf, or those were the halcyon days, or you can fill in the blank with whatever allusion you want to use, or hackneyed metaphor, as the case may actually have just been. And that's what's at stake, and that's my way of encouraging you. I know everyone has stepped up to the plate on the first two times this was at bat, but I can't emphasize, don't become tired. Whether in politics and in public policy in particular, there's something else that begins with P that's more important than all the brilliant arguments and all of the great political maneuvering in the world, and that's persistence. And I can say this with some certainty: those who are on the other side of this, who actually drive by a public golf course and think it's, in fact, if you look at the author of 1910's latest tweet, that one was the other night, she considers some of the golf courses in her district, she referred to this phrase, an injustice. To the degree to which a growing percentage of the population comes to see it that way, we are not going to be able to win these things in the public arena, because public opinion is the thing that is the most important. So I'll close with this, because you've had a long broadcast today and a fascinating one. I loved every minute of it, and particularly impressed with the new commissioner. I loved everything she said. Keep in mind, our long-term goal, this is a short-term goal. We have to gear up and we have to strike this thing out, to be sure. And I have some optimism about that, but optimism just means you have the possibility, not the certainty. Remember, our goal should be that that a substantial percentage of the 90% of the population that doesn't play golf needs to drive by particularly that golf course in their neighborhood, whether it's a public golf course, a municipal golf course. That's the most important one, because everyone who lives in the neighborhood is a member of the public, and they feel like they know they own it in some, albeit indirect way. Or if it's a daily fee golf course, or if it's a private club, there's no ownership rights there, but we want them driving by thinking that that piece of property is being put to use that makes their community a better place to live. It's a better place for their family. It's a better place for the environment. It's a better place for the body politic and the social hierarchy. If they begin to think that, which is what they think of parks, what they think of the local soccer fields and baseball diamonds, I don't know what they think of the equestrian centers. Those are many things that are utilized at a fraction of the percentage, a fraction of a fraction actually, as golf, are usually hidden from public view. We're not hidden from public view. We are exposed, and we need to take seriously. And golf's large institutions, and the good news is, as you heard from the commissioner earlier in this broadcast, that, and I will confirm what she said, I think golf's powers that be are beginning to recognize this, and golf's powers that be, and maybe even the PGA Tour will recognize it too. We'll see if that happens. That they have greater reach and greater resources. And they have the capacity, and it really is in their wheelhouse. This is not in their wheelhouse, to work on that image of the game and all those stories. And there are plenty of stories, there are plenty of facts, there's plenty of evidence that we can put forward that these golf courses are assets to the quality of life in the communities in which they are located. We've not done a good job. We've done a lousy job of that over the past, in part because it was a given. That was the standard attitude for many, many decades and years. We didn't have to do anything to nurture it. I'm here to tell you, we have a lot to do to rekindle it, to recapture it, nurture it, and advance it. I think we can do it, but it's a question of redirecting some of the resources that we have in other places And something that Len alluded to a little bit earlier on a slightly different subject. Golf's been really good at telling our good story to each other, and we're doing that here in this telecast as well. But we haven't been quite as good in telling that story to the vast percentage of the population that doesn't play the game. We've begun to do that. We need to triple, quadruple those efforts moving forward, because otherwise, this short-term fight that we have, and that's exactly what it is, on Assembly Bill 1910, get used to the number, but it's still the Public Golf Endangerment Act, or if you'd prefer, like I do, the Park and Open Space Endangerment Act. These are going to keep coming at us, and they're going to come faster and faster and faster. That's not to be negative. I'm a strange breed of an optimist. I think if you lay out all your problems on the table, look at them head on honestly, don't make stuff up. Don't live in a parallel universe where the best of all possible worlds, but look at reality. I think we have it within us, both in terms of resources and talent, and something that's always golf's ace in the hole. We have a lot of persons who are really mission-based, idealists, if you will, and I think that's a great strength. If we put those things together, we can tackle those problems. We just have to face them head on and go ahead and do it. This is a problem, and this was my way. I had not expected. I probably thought I'd have nothing to say today. And a little over 24 hours ago, I realized, holy, you know what? I knew this was coming, and it came, and we got this message out and moving forward. So with that, I will descend my soapbox, and the sermon is somewhat now over. I hope some of its points were well taken and taken in the spirit in which they were directed. And thank you for all your past support. And we're going to need more of it going forward, because when it comes to the public arena, it's just the only thing I can tell you is, doesn't matter whether you have a big victory. We had a big victory in appropriations a couple of weeks ago, or if you have terrible defeats, it's never over. Sun comes up tomorrow and you have the same set of challenges. Just use that P word, persistence, and just carry on with your best efforts. Thanks, Tom, Len, Robin, everyone, and for inviting me on this. You didn't know when you invited me on this one, you probably thought I'd spend 3 minutes saying, status quo, nothing's new, and move on. But something happened heading up to this, and that's the nature of my universe, and unfortunately yours as well.
Thank you, Craig. And not only did something happen, but this one has new rules. Again, it's been brought back. It has new rules. So we're grateful for keeping us posted. And as you mentioned, we are ready. The California, who's we, right? The California Alliance for Golf is geared up again. We've got our feet in some of the doors, and we now have a better plan and a little more time to do it. But we're not using any time to not do something. We're on it in a big way. And as Craig mentioned, we will be reaching out to everyone, not only everyone on this chat, but again, throughout our sections, throughout the state of California, for some help in writing to the legislators and writing to the locals to help us get rid of this a second time. And as we look to it, it's not a California initiative. It is at the moment, but if we think about it, I'm sure other states have their eyes on something like this, because there's always some cause or somebody hiding a cause within another one. So Craig, once again, thank you. And everyone, we ran a little bit long today, but 3 tremendous speakers. Thanks to Commissioner Saman, certainly to John Newkirk and Craig once again. And let's wrap it up. Tom?
Yeah, real quickly, Landon, thanks. Looking at the Phoenix leaderboard, Southern California has a couple of our junior alums up there with Thigala and Cantlay, so that's pretty cool, 9 and 8 under. Going back to AB 1910, if you see a social post, even from Christina Garcia, just to name names, feel free to post something, be factual, but post something in objection that of how healthy golf is and how important golf is for the environment and for people. And but please post something so she in particular will get that message. But thank you for listening, and thanks to Bryce, of course, and to Nikki and Kevin and everybody for putting this chat together. We appreciate it. Len, thank you as always. Craig, thank you as always. And to Molly and John, thank you so much. And we'll see you all on March 11th. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. March 11, and thank you, Tom, also for getting us connected with Molly and John and bringing them on today. I know that's not an easy task. We're always chasing somebody. So thanks for doing that. And as Tom mentioned, March 11, have a great weekend. Everyone, enjoy everything that's going on. Big Sunday, final round of the Waste Management Phoenix Open, but also the Super Bowl. So please be safe. Let's continue what we do, and we'll see you soon.
Go Rams.